Happy New Year. It is the Blue Room. It is Blue Monday on this first day of 2024. I am Matt Jones. Joining me is Dave Downey. Dave, how are you today? Did you get up to much last night or were you tucked up in bed early on?
No, I think people are little bit stereotyped. To be honest with you, I don't really like New Year in so much of ways because it's just time ticking on, isn't it? Really, so I'm not too bothered about New Year. I think I don't understand about resolutions and all that sort of thing. I certainly don't keep any that I want to make. To be honest with you, I don't know about you, Matt, but it was hard work getting to sleep around by man because everyone just goes crazy about it with fireworks. I think it's any excuse for people to have a party, really, isn't it? But yeah, it's not really my cup of tea, really. And but having said that, the transfer window's open now, isn't it? So
Ha!
I don't think that's too good for us, is it? Really, I don't think we're gonna go do any work on the transfer window. But yeah, I mean, 2024 is gonna get a lot better than 2023, and it's not going to be that difficult to stay in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think New Year's is one of them. I'm not like for ages. Like I don't mind going out, but I like you said, I think fireworks are just crap. Like what's
Yeah.
the I just don't get it. Big loud noises, big lights in the sky, grow up. Sure anyone listening to this today, hope we've got a nice peppy start to the new year. Isn't going to be too pleased with us, but no, I had a lovely night with a cheese board and a few
You,
glasses of wine. So
I tell you what, mate, you love a good cheese board, don't you? You absolutely
cheese
love
board.
cheese boards.
But yeah. So happy New Year to all of our listeners. Anyway,
Yeah.
thanks for sticking with us through 2023 when times got tough. Certainly towards April, May. Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
and yeah, loads more to come in the year. Like I always say now as well, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit subscribe, please hit like, please comment. Like we say here, and if you're listening on the podcast, give us a rating, give us a review on iTunes, Spotify, whatever you listen. It all helps. I'm going to deviate again a little bit from the usual format, Dave, because one, I think picking up Everton player of the weekend might have been tough after Saturday,
Mm.
and I think as well, like I listened to the post match walking the dog yesterday, and I think you guys did such a great job of summing it all up, and you know, I think from my point of view, it's one of them which thought we were just crap, and like that's kind of it. Like that, I'm sure anyone looking for some kind of cutting edge analysis would really appreciate that. But I just thought it
Mm.
was one of those days where we were knackered and we were crap, and that's kind of it. So before we try and to be a bit more positive, and this is where we might take a bit of an upturn in mood, look ahead to 2024 and sort of talk about our hopes and dreams and expectations for Everton, but how do we go about making this a good year really, and what our concerns are looking ahead? I mean, I suppose you can split it into two different ways, can't you? I mean, there's the on pitch stuff and the off pitch stuff. Um, and the off pitch stuff in itself is kind of separated into two parts as well because we've got all the takeover stuff rumbling on, and we've got the stuff around Goodison Park as well. We're going into our last full calendar year playing at Goodison Park as well, but.
Yeah.
I mean, in regards to that, we'll start with the off pitch stuff first. I think for me that's where my biggest concern is, to be honest. I know, as I said, we were safe a few weeks ago, which is not looking like a great shout now, 1 point above the relegation zone. But I still think we'll be absolutely fine. I still think we'll eventually be
Mm.
comfortable. Um, but I think my biggest concerns looking ahead to 2024 are around the stuff with the ownership and the potential suitability of our new owners, stability they may or may not provide as it
Yeah.
goes. And, if anyone's not listened to the interview you did with Tariq from a couple of months ago, looking at 777, I'd recommend that you go back and give that a listen because that was really interesting and a lot of fascinating stuff on that. But I think in terms of and just getting this out the way before we talk about some more positive stuff on the pitch, but I think that's where my biggest concern is. It's what comes next. It's whether getting Farhad Moshiri out the door would necessarily be. I mean, that is the right thing to do. Don't get me wrong, but it's whether the people coming in will potentially be more suitable and a better fit for this football club. Because I had major doubts about that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of putting it about 2024. I think it, the on pitch stuff. I don't. and this is tempting fate, I don't worry about it as much as what's going on off the pitch, because the stadium really excites us all. I think if you are really disappointed about the football club and that we've lost matches, and like for instance yesterday, it's sort of the first thing I turn to a lot. I'm thinking, well, if you're coming home from an away game and you've lost it, or you're walking away from Goodison and you've lost it, you think there's no way things can't be different going away to the new stadium, because there's no way we take what we've got into a new stadium and it stays exactly the same. I just think it's impossible for that to happen, and it has to be in a positive way. It can't be. I don't think it'll be in a poor sort of way. It's not going to be one of them type of things. Like I remember when Arsenal first went to the Emirates. I think it took them 4 or 5 games to actually win one. I don't envision that being the case with us. Having said that, there's a lot of other circumstances we need to sort out, certainly on the pitch and what we do in the summer and whatnot. And I think I'm a lot more confident about 24 than I was about 23. What we said and what we sort of joked about, and I was saying, we need to sort this out in terms of being safe. I still don't think we're going to go down. I don't think we're going to be in a challenge at which we needed to overcome in the last couple of seasons. I think we'll be safe by 34, 35 games. People will say, "Oh, hang on, Dave, you're having a laugh there, aren't you?" With the sides below us. The sides below us, apart from probably Sheffield United and Burnley in terms of points, Luton are a side that are really, really concerning for me. I think I've seen them home and away, and they've got something. They've got a bit of fire up in the belly about this. Hate to say it, Ross Barkley actually looks like an outstanding midfield player. The one that we all hoped was going to be that case back in 8, 9 years ago now. So that there's things that need sorting out regarding 777 and other things. Excuse me. I think that it's a concern, and like you said about that interview I did with Tarek a couple of months ago. The real concern is about Mashiri leaving. Could you put our faith in his hands? And I'm not talking about transfers. I'm not talking about the new stadium, because the stadium obviously is gonna happen. It's done, nearly done. Would you trust him to be the person to pass us on to somebody else, a company, whatever, somebody to do that to anybody else? That's the real concern for me, Matt. Not just 777, but it's quite clear that he wants out of Everton as quick as he possibly can. Um, if you're trying to sell something in life, if you're going to a car boot sale with, I don't know, a game or something like that, or something you want to sell in your house, furniture, whatever it is, it's hard to sell. But at the same time, you want rid. You don't care who comes and buys it, as long as they give you the money that you want, the money that you need, and that's the real concern for me. I don't think that man cares where Everton go. He just wants his financial side of things, because clearly it's going to be a loss on what he's entered into Everton. So it's just like, if it was me, I mean, I'd want to cut ties with Everton, and that sounds really, I think, quite weird to most people listening to this. I want to cut ties with them if I was Mashiri, given yes the money I've lost, but also it's just not for him. It's just not for him to be an owner of a football club and you continue to lose money. And I personally wouldn't care. I know he has no real association with Everton, and he's been with us for what? He's coming up to 8 years now.
Yeah.
As much as he's banged on the stuff about, oh, this is the great club, the museum stuff he said at the start, all the stuff that I'm not going to say naively, but we were like really happy about this. Bill Kenwright brought him in. He's a billionaire. Everything we've said, everything Bill Kenwright said up to that point hadn't been addressed at all. We were all fuming, really angry the way Everton were. Relegation fights, we did well to get to European places under Moyes. all of that stuff, it's really sad that we take that back right now. It's basically, as fans, the last 8 years of our lives as fans have been totally wasted. Now, I'm not saying that because it's been strictly down to him, because when he's put his funding in for transfers and whatnot, the way we've spent it's been appalling. The way he's ultimately turned into somebody who actually thinks he can buy players and that he's got sense about it. But we want him out. I want him out. I don't know anybody else who doesn't want him out. But I'm really worried we get to a point going back to the 7-7-7 thing. It really, I'm fearing what comes next. I really am, because this guy, he's proven that he's clueless in football. He's said some really strange things, really worrying things, even if he was staying. And I was asked the question a few times about what would you do if you've got 7-7-7 there and you've got Farhad Mashiri there, and again going to that piece that I did, which would you? I mean, it's a hard choice, isn't it? You know, it's a difficult one to make. Which one of those two? Which one of those two things you can choose? Which would it be? The fact that I'm sitting there thinking I'd rather still have Farhad Mashiri than 7-7-7 coming in shows you the real scary thing we've got coming up here, because that effectively will be a decision. Not for
Yeah.
us, obviously, for him and everybody else at the club. So it's going to be. I mean, we can't predict it now. Given, let's hope somebody else comes in. We had that MSP stuff. I wonder in the business world how Everton will look, how there'll be other people, other businesses, other millionaires, billionaires looking at us and thinking we're the club that is a good takeover. Financially, is it going to be something that they can make money from? Which is exactly what this 7-7-7 are doing. So it concerns me, whoever comes in, that the priority is actually Everton doing well rather than making money from us. So that's the main sort of thing I'm worried about going into 24.
Yeah. And yeah, it just sort of bleeds into everything, doesn't it? That. And it's one of them. Like, I'm sure there'll be people listening to this who are sort of saying, we've got to give these people a chance. We've had terrible ownership for Farm Machine for a long time. People would argue about going back to Bill Kenwright and his stewardship at the football club that's been terrible for a long time now. And maybe the people saying, give these people a chance. But like, part of me just looks at, I mean, maybe this is just because the industry we're in, Dave, and you look at the people who've done reporting around 777, like Tariq, like Filippo Clare, like Paul Brown, a lot of journalists in America as well. These are serious people who take time and care and
Yeah,
consideration
yeah,
over the work. And I don't think they'd be going, not ones that go into it all too much and all the things they've been accused of. I don't think they'd be going in two-footed on this group unless there was due cause to do it, and if they had
yeah,
reason to do it.
yeah.
But listen, it might not even happen yet, which is mad in itself. Still haven't had
I
Premier
mean,
League.
well, that's the question I've got for you and
Yeah.
everybody else that's listening. What would you choose right now? Would you want 7-7 to come in, or would you want to keep Farhad Mashiri? If that's your choice, what would you do?
Well, I mean, Farhad Moshiri's managed Everton's decline for a while now, hasn't he? But it's whether these do it quicker. Like, that's like that's where my expectations are for them. And listen, like, I don't know loads about. I've only read the articles that everybody else has read, and you'd have to do some proper deep dive stuff into them to find out really, and form a bigger picture, which is obviously something we'll try and do if this gets ratified. But there've been people having conversations, Dave, about would you rather go into administration than these, and like that that's not the fact that even people have had this chat is like that in itself is like doesn't say much, does it, about them? But um, just like I said, despite the fact that they've been putting out communication through club channels and they've been at Goodison Park and they've lent money to Everton, it's still not been ratified by the Premier League completely. So who knows where that ends up? But in terms of on pitch stuff, Dave,
Even
like I said,
worse.
like no, it's not worse. It's not worse than that. I guess I sort of look at the squad and
Mm.
there is good sections there and good pillars there we can build on. I think Branthwaite's obviously our main asset now, isn't he? He's the biggest asset we've got. The midfield, you've got Garner and Anana in there, two young
Mhm, mhm.
midfielders who have obviously got the flaws, but
Yeah.
can kick on. McNeil is a young player as well. Like there are, Mikalenko obviously as well has done really well, hasn't he? There are good building blocks there, I think, for
Mhm,
the future. Um, and I think Dice has helped
mhm.
improve a lot of them. Certainly Mikalenko's benefited a lot, hasn't he? I think Branthwaite's obviously benefited a lot from his management as well. Um, it's just filling in those gaps, isn't it? I think for the rest of it elsewhere. I've seen before we logged on there, I've seen Fabrizio Romano reporting that apparently Leon are looking at Danjuma as an option in January. So who knows if we end up
Mm,
as well. We'll have to see. I'm sure there'll be other podcasts we can do this week and debating whether he'll be a big loss or whether we should get rid of him or keep him or whatever. But
yeah, yeah.
there is really good bits, I think, and really strong bits of this squad. But it's just getting in players that the manager trusts to fill in the gaps and getting in players in general, given our financial situations. But I am positive about certain aspects of the squad, and I think we've got a really good young core there looking into 2024.
Yeah, I'd agree with that based on the fact that he's changed things that were generally very negative about the club. If you go back a year now, there are many players that I'd look at there that he starts now. I think they're not good enough. They're not good enough to keep us in the Premier League. They're not good enough for a group of players who you'd trust on keeping Everton and improving them. He's in a mentality sort of sense, and we've done a lot of talking about this recently, particularly after the 4 victories in a row. He's the person you want to come in and save this and change this. Be the right person who gets these players into the right shape. We've seen that against Chelsea. We've seen that against Newcastle. Seen it away Brentford, Forest as well. The style of play we've got isn't if you were to choose, it wouldn't be one you want to see. It wouldn't be the one that you played on FIFA or something like that. But it's effective. That's the most important thing. I go back to that quiz. I don't know if I've done it on this show. Guy who was sat next to in the main stand, that 1-1 draw against Brighton, says to me, "I'm not coming back to watch this." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because Everton should be playing like this. I'm not paying my money to come and watch this." And I had a bit of an argument with him and said, "Just look at that scoreboard there. We drew 1-1. We should have won 1-0. That is all that matters right now. Sadly, we can't. I'm not sitting there thinking Everton need to pass it 25 times before we score a goal. Let's tap in at the far post with Calvert-Lewin. Doesn't bother me. I don't care how we go and win. Um, and the ironic thing about that is when we have won those games, when we have got those results, we have actually played well and good football to watch. So that's a concern for me, and I don't want to go back to what we've already talked about, but what you've said there about the squad we've got, the players we've got, the assets we've got, you can't help but think that all goes into the cauldron for what we've just spoken about. Really, in summer, I mean, we've had a bit of a laugh about this tongue-in-cheek stuff about Branthwaite. We certainly did on the post-match the other day. Now, Everton would sell him as quick. If Man City come in, even someone like Real Madrid came in for him and said, "We'll give you 80 to 100 million quid." Everton wouldn't do anything different. Everton would sell them immediately, and that's the big concern I've got, because that puts Dyche and everybody else on a really difficult mountain to climb. If you're building something, which I do believe he is, I believe he's the right manager. Everything else, I think I trust him to take us forward. But how difficult is it going to be for him to do that with no money to spend, which is what we are now? I don't think we're going to get anybody, even a loan, in this month. And then you're going to sell your assets, as most clubs do, but it's a catastrophe for us if we have to. And I'm talking about Branthwaite. I'm talking about even Pickford. Other players, Mikalenko, be quite a high value price now on his left back. Onana as well. I mean, you strip the club of, say, 3 players like that, for instance. Where'd you start? What can you go and do? Turn to the academy, which the academy hasn't been up to par for quite some time. And for us to get someone like Dobbin and whatnot, he's a real sort of coup, and I bet the academy are trying to prove that they're actually doing that and getting players like that who are good enough. That, to me, I trust Dyche. I think Dyche is the right man, but the battle he's going to have if all of this comes to pass is a massive concern for me. What's he going to do in the summer? I mean, how much he's allowed? These are big questions we're talking about at the start of the year. Normally, the sort of things we'd be talking about when you've confirmed that you're safe and you're going into the summer, you're going into when the window opens and you're looking ahead to August. I'm really fearful of that. I have to be honest, Matt. I'm not sure about you, but let's put in the scenario that you have to sell Branthwaite, you have to sell Onana. Say those two go. Where are we at? What do we do? With that money, most of that's got to go to the bank.
I don't think you sell both of them. I don't think you sell both of them in January. But I think what is interesting
is there a choice not to, Matt? The question I'm asking is there a choice? Say, people bang on about how much we get for Onana. Look, we're talking about figures that are up in the air. We're not talking about figures that, you're talking ballpark stuff here. With Branthwaite, with Branthwaite and with Onana in those situations, Everton could not reject fees for them.
No, I think Branthwaite's different to Onana. Like, again, it's probably a conversation, but with Onana, I don't get this enjoy him while we can idea that a lot of people have of him. Like, I don't think he's destined to go to. So there's that. But I think, I suppose in January you could say, if you sold one of them players and didn't replace them, then you could potentially get relegated in the summer, and then you'd lose even more money, if that makes sense. So it's like,
but we couldn't replace them, Matt. That's the
exactly. So say we sold Branthwaite for I don't know 60 million or something in January, and couldn't replace him, and we played Michael Keane to the end of the season and went down, then we'd lose more than 60 million, wouldn't we? Overall, so it's like weighing up the cost of it, really. But I think what is interesting about that is I think obviously people have known for a while that our financial situation is bad, but it's the first time I think it's probably been, well, obviously we got the points deduction, which shows that it's very bad. And we've also got the situation with that document that came out with the points deduction, which kind of explained and showed to the world that, we are up against it massively. And I don't know, listen, clubs will be aware of those sorts of things, but for it to be so brutally exposed, will that mean the teams are going to try and pounce this month and think, they've got a couple of good assets there, let's try and get them now while they're clearly in a bad situation? I don't know. But I did like that Kevin Fowler came out and did that interview with the club. I think that was a lot of good messages in there, and I think just to kind of say that we're not going to sign anyone without really saying it, I think means that there might not be some hysteria at the end of the window. We've still not brought anyone in, and I think that.
I think you're very nice. Sorry, Matt. I think people are very naive if they think that you're going to go to the end of the month and start flipping it at the club that we haven't brought anybody in. I think I have no idea why you think that, given where we are and what he said there. But the other thing I wanted to put forward there with Branthwaite, and we're going to move on from that. He won't be an Everton player post the Euros, in my opinion, because he's going to go to the Euros. I think he'll probably play.
I think he'll go. I think he's got a chance, but I don't think he'll definitely go.
You don't think he'll I think he'll definitely go. The amount of game time he gets is a different question.
It'll be Maguire, Stones, Gehi, probably Colwell as a centre half, I'd say. Although I think Branthwaite's probably as good as Colwell. Well, probably better now. He's had a much better season, hasn't he? I don't know. Southgate loves Maguire, doesn't he? Stones. I feel like that. And Maguire's had a good season, to be fair, but it feels like that'll be the two that start.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact that he goes that's a huge factor in him in his future. Really, he's only got to be selected. The reputation of what people get when they play for England is high. The stock is probably as high as it ever has been. Given I'm no fan of him whatsoever in Southgate, but the way England have been at tournaments is generally been much better than they ever have been. When he got to the final in the last one, and pretty poor at the World Cup, but playing for England is still at the top of the list of many people who look at transfers, and everybody else is going to see him. There'll still be a lot of fans of other clubs who have not seen him. They think Everton fans banging on about how good this lad is. They'll just dismiss it out of hand because it's us. And we're a poor side. We're in a bad position at the moment. If you're a fan of another club take for instance Burnley. You talked about Berger at City, didn't you?
Who,
Sorry, at
sorry?
Burnley. Sander Berg at City.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thought he was good. Yeah.
Brian at Burnley. But you know, how many people are going to know that he's decent unless you watch a match of the day for 10 minutes that you see Burnley on there? That's why England's the stock of playing for England or even being associated with getting called up, even the under 21s, which he's done well for already. You get into that position. I think that's why that's why I'm so scared about him moving on, Matt. And if he doesn't, think what you said about Thelwell. That makes any of these assets that we've got, which we normally think, if we sell them, that's fine. Richarlison, who have we spent that money on? Gordon, who have we spent that money on? Virtually nobody. Mikalenko and who else we spent on? You know, you look at that time since those players have left, not able to spend it. Things haven't changed off the pitch in regards to that. So that's what makes me fear Dice. You can't keep just going to the well and thinking, look, he's good, academy stuff and all that. And look, I don't want to I don't want to sound like 24 is going to be an absolute nightmare, because the one thing we've been decent at is finding a way, to keep secure here. But you can't keep doing it. You can't keep doing it because something will catch up. Deduction. What happens with the appeal? We've handled that really well, really, really well. Position we're in, for us to be out of the bottom three after getting that deduction is a real achievement. And people would say, no, it's not because of the bottom three. I'm sick of hearing you should be fine because the other three sides that came up are all crap. I'm not buying into that. When I've seen Luton at home, they give anybody a big challenge. You know, every team that I've seen go there. You know, you had Chelsea the other day, 3-2 win. They're one of those sides that you don't want to go and play there. It's like Burnley used to be. You don't want to go to Burnley and play, stay to the place and things. I don't want to get too far into that and criticise them, but look at the conditions they're in, the way they play football. You've got to go there with a real battle, and I mean a real battle, physical battle. A lot of sides aren't that good to go and do that and to play like that. So yeah, it's just a long way round of answering what you're saying here about Thelwell and things that need to happen. Let's face it, Matt. We haven't got many options. There's not much. There's not much able. We're not able to move as much as most teams. We're in a condition where everything around us is the best we can cope with. Is all we've got. We can't go and buy more. Can't get more in. Like go back to what I said. If he leaves, what do you go back to? Keane and Tarkovsky as the centre backs. Not too sure that. Well, certainly Tarkovsky's been brilliant since we got him. I don't want to go too far on Keane as we always tend to do. But you know, if Everton go into a game with that back four, I don't certainly have much more anymore. Well, I don't have as much of a confidence that I have with Brantwaite in there. Nowhere near.
I think the thing that's maybe a bit, vulgar to go too heavy on this is like, I suppose the last 3 years or so, we have been quite prudent financially, haven't we? Which means that in this current window, we might not be under so much pressure to sell players just to satisfy the banks and stuff like that. Look at the summer and how little we ultimately spend there, and you think about the way in which the better deal structured. The club have been more prudent recently in the way in which they've done things. We've got players who are going to be leaving the club in the summer on big contracts. So I think from that point of view, it's like, listen, we'll still have interest from, our biggest assets will still have interest from clubs who've got more money and are higher up the league than us. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if it'll be a situation like. Hopefully, it won't be a situation anyway like Gordon in last January where like it felt like they had to sell him regardless, or the Richarlison one where they had to sell him by a certain day to satisfy the banks. Like I'm hopeful, but I don't know this, that the club have done enough practical financial work and made enough smart decisions in the transfer market and been able to balance the books accordingly that if someone did come in with 80 million for Branthwaite in January. And let's be honest, if someone came in with that money, the lad looks at the business, but he's had 4 good months in the Premier League. Like
Oh no,
you'd have to. If someone came in with 80 million pound this month, and we could replace him, and we had money there to go like that is a lot. And like I don't want to get into that too much now because like it's not even happened yet, and we haven't even seen
yeah,
any
yeah, yeah, yeah,
deal.
yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like we're in a situation where now like hopefully if that money did come in, there might be a chance where we can invest some of it into the squad because we've made better decisions in the last couple of years. But just to sort of finish off, Dave, what's giving you in terms of the playing side of it? What's giving you optimism for the new year in regards to the squad? Obviously, we've spoken a lot about Branthwaite, who does look the business. I think Patterson's done okay the last few games we've been in, although I kind of get the sense that Coleman will be back on the side again soon, which is mad. And also Maui might be going into his last season as an Everton player,
Mm.
of course, as well. Um, what parts of the team are you feeling good about going into the new year?
Just starting there on Patterson. I don't think Dyche should have him come around with a newspaper to drop through his door. I just don't see him being trusted whatsoever by Sean Dyche. As soon as Coleman's fit enough for a 90, you're not going to see Patterson in the team much at all. Maybe a sub, whatever. But for some reason, he doesn't seem to trust him at right back. He'd rather have Ashley Young ahead of him, for instance. We've seen that already. But yeah, going back to the more positive question, Decore, I think, has been head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably underplayed him really all year. Like he was genuinely one of the best attacking midfielders in the league last season. If you look at like his goal output, I think he's scoring like on average once every 3 goals, and like you can see, can't you now, watching us without him, like how good he is at playing in that position.
Well, how much have we spoken about not having a 10 there, Calvert-Lewin? If he's keeping this system where he just plays one striker, which is correct, I think we couldn't play, him and Beto, Calvert-Lewin and Beto up front. That place, probably the most important role that we've got is somebody who sticks up there, is no more than 20, 30 yards within. Calvert-Lewin or Beto who starts. That's where most of our goals come from, is him. And McNeil on one side and Harrison, who started to show a bit of promise in the other side, I think, in recent weeks. I think that's fair enough to say, but we've missed Decore a lot. I was having an argument, typical having an argument on Twitter, me, isn't it? But a guy who just adores him. He said he loves him and thinks he's going a bit far there, but he said he's one of the best players we've had for years. This is a guy that we nearly got rid of, and he's only signed a 1-year extensive contract. How old's he now? 30?
He's 31, isn't he? Yeah. So he
Excuse
signed up
me.
for this year and next year, isn't he?
Oh, so yeah, 18
Yeah.
month, 18-month deal. I'd go as far as saying that's probably the best bit of business we've done in some time is keeping him on. And I certainly at the start of the season was thinking, why have we done this? Because he was such an inconsistent player. I still think there's a level of inconsistency, but the good things he does for us is it's essential for us now. You look at how he operates. I mean, we've spoken before, Matt, privately between ourselves here, where it's been like sometimes he looks like he'll kick the ball out of play and won't look like a professional footballer. But high percentage of his time playing on the football pitch is essential to how we score goals. So he's the real positive I think we've got. He's somebody that would be one of the first names in the team sheet in regards to thinking we need to score goals. Other side in the midfield sort of role. This might sound like a strange one, but just Gay, I think, has gone under the radar at times. I think he's been essential in being, a defensive midfielder for us. Excuse me. I think when he's not available, which he isn't now, you'll see a real cost for us in that role. I think it's essential. I think Dyche will look at it now, having played a back five. You need somebody who's going to play just in front of that
Do we
a
know
back
how long
four.
he's out for? Have they given any indication? They just said it's like a bad injury, didn't they? But I don't know
Yeah,
if that means like months or like another couple of weeks or what.
exactly. That's the thing. That's it's a bit ambiguous, isn't it? That sort of thing. I think the club has a big fan. I'm not telling people how long they're out for. It's almost like a game of cards where you don't want to show your hand to anybody. Um, but yeah, I feel he's really important to us. I think that midfield, that Dice has got a juggling act. Let's face it, in front of him, what he does with that midfield. James Garner, again, has been top of our list of talking about him. Our disagreements over him, Matt, but I thought he was woeful against Wolves. He's inconsistent, which that's really down the ladder that we need at this moment in time. We need players to go in there and just
Yeah.
do a job. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like the midfield's like fine. It's like if we didn't have the injuries there, like the four that you mentioned, Decore, Garner, Anana, and Garner. And then you've got
Yeah,
Gomez sort of in there as like a wild card. Like those five feel like all right as like just central midfielders, but like it's that Decore, Fellaini, Kale position, isn't it? That's always seems to have been so important to us down there. Like having that player who can just be who is like a midfielder who basically plays up front, if that makes
yeah, yeah,
sense. Like
yeah,
we haven't got anyone that could do that. Like so United fans slagging McTominay off the other day and thought if we had a bit of money, like he'd be an ideal Decore replacement in that position because that's where he plays for Scotland, isn't it? Getting forward and
yeah,
getting on the end of things, and he does a very similar job. Similar profile in terms of physical stature. And I just thought, you know what? If we could get someone like him, he'd be absolutely perfect for the way we play in Dyche. But alas, unless we sell Bradway, we're not going to. But
yeah,
yeah, but I think you're right about the midfield. Like James Garner and Anan have both shown glimpses, haven't they, of like being a really good partnership and being really good individuals. But maybe this is just because the young players playing in a team that's not quite settled yet, or not quite doing well yet. Like I want to see James Garner playing like he played against Forest a few weeks ago, like 4 out of 5 games. Like that feels like
yeah,
he's the level he
yeah,
needs to get to, but he's not quite doing that yet. And Anna, I mean, it's acceptable. I just don't know. I don't get this idea that he's like a Lukaku or a Stones destined for
yeah,
the stars, and we should enjoy him while we can. I've not really seen that yet, um, but I think like in terms of looking ahead, I think we need another wide player, don't we? Really, probably need another fullback who can sort of play both sides. But it just feels like we're just going to have to muddle through, doesn't it, until the end of the season, and just he's going to have to put some trust in players that maybe he doesn't have trust in,
mm,
or just flog them maybe to Leon in the case of
yeah.
Danjuma. We'll see how that goes. Yeah,
Try and get a swap deal or something like that. But there's two there. I mean, one's come out of nowhere in Gomez. The other one who looks like a real talent is Dobbin. I think you have to turn and look at that. And I just think he's come up with a common trait, hasn't he? Dyson substitutions either come too late or aren't the right ones that he makes, in our opinion,
has
of
Dobbin
course.
played a minute since he scored?
Dobbin, no, I don't think he has. Oh no, I think he came on late on.
Oh, sorry,
Uh,
he came on at Burnley, didn't he, in the second half?
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he came
well,
on
he
at
was injured.
Burnley.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, question for you: what do you think of Gomez here? Because when I seen him come in, and look, people will go too far about this. People will start going, "Oh, look, he looks amazing again. His hair's fine. He's come on the
Yeah.
football pitch, and he looks a touch of what we first got in that first season, where he looked like a world class midfielder. He's come from Barcelona. He's come on, and he was really, really good at Spurs. He was really good. He was probably the most important person that looked us like getting a result in how he
I
played.
think he was our best player again when he came on Saturday as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think there's still more to come from him in terms of he's not 100% fit. Let's be honest. How long he spent out, it's really interesting that Dice does trust him because we're talking about a manager there who sets the bar quite high for you to get a game, regardless of how poor we're doing. You don't see players come on and get a game. You don't see Dobbin getting a game every week, but there are slight options there. I'd throw Beto in. I know I laugh and say I shouldn't, but I'd throw Beto in there. I think given what's happening with Calvert-Lewin again, it's not a fitness thing this time. It's a confidence thing. We've spoken a lot about that on post-match. I think Beto needs to get a run of games starting there, not only to get a run of games and form and some goals, but also Calvert-Lewin needs to rest.
Hmm.
You put it on Twitter, it really made me smile. And we mentioned this, what you said, in terms of I'd take the under
Yeah.
12s to Crystal Palace. And as amusing that is, I think it's right. I think you don't even consider the FA Cup now. And when I mentioned what I did about Fulham, the importance of that was to get semi-final in the cup. You put that at the top of your list. Most people put that at the top of the list. Right now, you've got to win 6 or 7 games to get to a final, is it?
Yeah.
Um, you couldn't throw that in the mix now and say let's go and do our best. I mean, fair play to every fan that goes down to Crystal Palace because it's ridiculous a Thursday night anyway. But you can't. I don't think you can go into that thinking, you know what, this is anywhere near
Yeah.
something we really have to bother with.
I don't think he'll make. I don't think he'll make a full rotation. I think he's just got to. He's just got to ask the players to be honest with him and say which one he is are exhausted. Like, yeah, could you play? Do you honestly feel like you could play tonight and play in 10 days?
Yeah,
Because I think the ideal thing, the most important thing to me is that everybody is fully fit for that Villa game, and you want everybody like do you know on Footy Manager and FIFA when you see like the little fitness bars and like I feel like at the moment like all our lads are in like orange to red
yeah,
before the game's even started. Like,
yeah. And you
um,
start them and they go off after 15 minutes
yeah,
because they're still
yeah,
injured.
exactly. You're just the man just telling you Dwight McNeil's exhausted and he needs bringing off after 20 minutes. Like, but for Villa, I think the main thing is to get everybody's little fitness bar up to green and ready to go for that game. That might mean that some of them don't play at all or don't even travel on Thursday. Some of them might feel like they can play on Thursday and go again in 10 days' time because they will have had enough time to recuperate. But we'll see. But yeah,
Well, am I right in thinking, Matt, that we have that 10 days game and then Villa, and there's another 2 weeks
yeah, there is. Yeah.
to the end? I
So
mean, that is really quite handy for us. I think that's come at the right time, given how short that squad is that we've got. And is it an international break? Is it?
no, it's just that weird break, isn't
Oh,
it? Where
like
they play
like
half
like
the
our winter
fixtures and
break
then
type of thing.
yeah, they play half
Yeah,
the fixtures one weekend, half fixtures the next.
Ti-
Um, but
yeah.
I totally agree with Warren. Like on Thursday night, I'll be screaming at the telly for us to win, and wanting us to get through. So we'll see about that. But we'll have to leave it there, mate. See, we sort of taught ourselves around this positivity by the end of it. Um, gotta be on
Realistic as well, I think, Matt.
got to be
Realistic
on the
positivity.
got to be on the front foot to start the new year, haven't you?
Yeah.
So we will leave it there. Loads more coming from us this week. Also, listen to Dave's old new borrowed blue if you haven't already. Honestly, not listen to it. I'm going to listen to it when I walk the dog after this. So I can guess a few of your favorite plays and stuff though.
I think me and you, well, we've certainly interviewed one of them. I think that's pretty obvious who I'm going
Yeah.
to pick for that. But you've got to do
Um,
yours this week as well, haven't you, Matt?
do it tomorrow. Do it tomorrow with Les.
Yeah.
And we're getting loads more people on to do that as well. So they'll be able
Yeah. So
to.
that's out on Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, Paddy's is great as well. Give that a listen too. Of course, we've got Subs Weekly tomorrow, and that's going to be
Yeah.
Adam Sutton and Mick Greenall joining me on that. We'll also try and get Dan from HLTCO to talk Palace ahead of the game of the weekend. And yeah, there's full steam ahead in the FA Cup. But cheers for listening or watching as ever. Give us a rating, give us a review if you're listening on your podcast platforms. Like, subscribe, comment. If you're on YouTube, we're going to try and get bigger and better in 2024. But up the Toffees, Happy New Year, and we'll speak to you again very soon here on the Blue Room.